Are we on? Yeah. Good afternoon, and welcome to the next session. So we're going to be doing something a bit different here because we're going to try to look at the process of design, which means I'm going to have to ask you to do quite a lot when we get going, and we're going to actually source and crowdsource with you a design for a conference or something in about 45 minutes. So let me tell you what's going to happen first and foremost. You've got me. I'm a freelance creative director, so I worked for the agency market. They bring me in, can I say this? I'm a pitch bitch. I get brought in to work on pitches, to come up with the ideas, the idea platform that wins the contracts for them. Sometimes I work on production as well. So that's generally what I spend most of my days doing. And that's taking a problem, which is the brief or whatever it be, trying to untangle that problem and turn it into something which is much easier to digest. Anything that is creative is going to involve a lot of coffee, so I hope you've brought some. Then there's you. So now you know about me. Who do we have here? How many people here are from event planners? Any agencies? Design agencies? Okay. Congress organizers? Right, so we've got a reasonable idea what we've got here. Have we got any AV companies here? PRG in the front row. So that's good. So that means that we've got some experts here if we need something. Then what we're going to do is we're going to shift to a blank sheet of paper, and we're going to spend 15 minutes talking about the stakeholder issues. You know, what is the brief, what do people want, and we're going to decide that between us. Once we've agreed who the client is, where the venue is, whatever and wherefore, then we're going to discuss the idea, and if we have to, I'll just going to sketch the stuff out and whatever and wherefore to keep us on track. And then we're going to talk for the final 15 minutes about the actual technical delivery and how we would physically do it, and then we'd have a little pause for reflection. So we have no idea what's going to happen. I know even less than you. So this will be interesting. Got a slight technical problem. Do you want to have a look at our cable for me? Do excuse us for a minute. So while we're sorting that out, the first thing I need to know is, where's the venue? Where do you want this event to be? Anyone? Whereabouts? What city? Okay, so there we go. Right, so we've got an event and it's in Barcelona. Anyone know a venue in Barcelona? So are we going to look at ITBM? Is that what we'll do? Do you guys want to redesign ITBM? Should we do that? Are we agreed? Okay, right. So ITBM it is. So the first thing is, I'm going to give you some rules. A few rules to follow, and these aren't rules to physically stick to, these are just tips. There's a whole load of, you can buy books and books and books on design theory, on IDEO. Depending on who you work for, you'll get different design theories which will apply things that give you a process. Now, I've been doing this for a little while, and I've gone through a whole bundle of them, and I've just taken out the ones that actually refer to events. So, first is form and function. Whatever you do, you're spending someone else's money. It's going to have to be based on reality. It will have to deliver something. So there's no good having an idea that can't be done or can't go in it. Everything, the function is that your audience require, the form must fit that function. The second thing is empathy, because it's all about the audience, and it's not about you. The audience has all the power. The content used to be king, now the audience is king. So always get some empathy in there. There's a great design book by Pascal, and it goes from a long way away, but he says the answer is always yes, no, or wow. Yes is okay, no is not good enough. Wow is what we're really trying to do because we're doing live events and it's face-to-face, and that's why face-to-face works. Every event that you have ever done or ever been to has been done before. So our job in this creative workshop is we must add one new thing. We must add one new thing to the format or one new thing to the design of the event every single time, because that's the only thing that anyone's ever going to remember. Always one new thing. It's a good business model as well. Deconstruction. We're going back to your audience and empathy. Your audience, everything that we have to design or anything that you're going to design today, they have to be able to understand it, so make it obvious. Unclutter the world, unclutter their visual world, unclutter their acoustic world, and make things much, much simpler. You heard a few things about the senses with Rob from before, if anyone was sitting in on that. That's really important to do. Simplicity. Simplicity is beautiful. Simplicity goes with the unclutterness. Simplicity is easier to understand, but it has a price. It's not perfect. So everything that you do doesn't have to be perfect. People fall in love with imperfection. Anyone ever had an Alfa Romeo? I've loved my Alfa Romeo. I had 3 of them. I've loved them. I can still see the picture of it sitting on the hard shoulder with the smoke coming out of it. But I fell in love with the imperfection. It's a beautiful thing. Culture. Everything at your event, all the stuff that's out there, that's just infrastructure. It's chairs and tables and stuff that people have hired. It's nothing. It's got nothing to do with your event. The culture of your event is everything. So when we're doing the new IBTM, we're going to create a culture that is ready for this audience. And the funny thing is, because you're the audience, you're going to know it really, really well. So that's going to be very interesting. And then last of all, it should be fun. If people are going to join in with your new IBTM, if they're going to join in with your event, it should be a pleasure. So make it fun for them. So here we go. Our event is, it's this hall here, right? So we have got, it's roughly this shape. That's pretty much the hall. That's what we've got at the moment. So we're sticking that little bit at the end there, which has been tagged on the end there. We know the entrances pretty much come in the middle. I'm going to keep one thing from ITBM that we've already got that I like, and that's the hotel info thing in the next hall there. You know, the hotel map thing? They've got the black area that you can sit around. I like that. We can keep that. So let's put that on. Okay. That's fine. We can have that bit. So what are the issues with ITBM? Please. You're going to have to shout, and then I'll repeat it. Interactivity. Okay, so are we saying not enough interactivity, more interactivity? Okay. Any other issues that we've got? You're the audience. More gamification. Okay. Why?
Because it triggers you to find out more.
So more triggers. Okay, I like that. So we're going to have triggers. Anything else?
Supplies, I will say hotels and some travel destinations, and it would be really great to have some, I don't know, AV suppliers, stand builders, for example, for exhibitions, like a variety of exhibitors.
Infrastructure support. But what we want is we want people that are dialed into this industry, that are only that really with what they're trying to do here, with what you're trying to do here. You want specialists here, right?
Yeah, more exhibitors, not only hotels. There are mostly hotels, but we would like to have like promo item suppliers and other companies, like catering companies.
Have we got enough hotels here? Yeah, but have we got enough here? Do you want to reduce the number of hotels or simply add a new channel to it? Right, so our new IBTM has to get bigger. I like that. That's good. So already we're growing it. Growth is a good thing. Anything else? Any other stakeholder issues that we have with you guys? Difficult to network. Why?
Because as an attendee at the event, I don't have access to any of the app services that are hosted by as an exhibitor.
Neither do speakers. So
I'll become the mic bitch.
Can we introduce our mic bitch, which is
This
is Andy from PRG.
Andy from PRG,
And so
who
if you've got-
graciously handing the mics out.
If you've got any AV questions afterwards, this is actually quite a good man. You've done pretty good there. Make him come here and exhibit, and your work here will be done. Right, so difficult to network.
It's as an attendee, it's too big to network kind of without a plan. If you go to other events, meeting show that I went to in London just a few months back, for example, there's a matchmaking service within there which you get access to as an attendee or an exhibitor or a speaker or as a hosted buyer.
Do we more or less agree with that? Yeah, right. So we have a reasonable amount of ideas that we have to work together. Anything else? Carry on.
More lunch facilities. Let's to reduce the queues.
Yes, absolutely. Because everyone's on the hosted buyer, the hosted buyer lunch area is empty, and then they get their window, and they're all in one queue, and they're not working, they're not networking, they're not doing anything. That's a really good observation. I love that. Yeah. Okay, you were going to give me another one?
Queues in ladies' toilets are insane, and this is something you would not really want for your trade show.
Okay.
It's just, yeah, really bad.
We're going to have a special boudoir in the new show. There will be a boudoir which has got beautiful couches, TVs. There'll be people making cosmetics for you, and you have all that time out there, and all the time that you're saving from not being in the lunch queue, we're going to put that in the boudoir. I love that. Okay, carry on.
I'd say even past the boudoir, just a 2.5 or 2.75 to 1 ratio of ladies' rooms to men's rooms in general.
Oh, I love that. We were doing something romantic, and you've just reduced it to a metric.
I'm so sorry. Yep, KPI for the toilets. And I would have more water stations, so as far as filling up bottles
Right, so
and coffee.
can we just get rid of bottles? We will have no bottles. We'll have water stations everywhere. We will have no bottles.
No.
There shouldn't be bottles at this show.
Then what are you going to use? Because there shouldn't be cups. There should be to fill
Then
up bottles.
everyone's given... Yeah, everyone's given their cup when they come in, when they register.
I brought it.
On the microphone so everyone can hear.
You have to buy a bottle at the door, and then the money goes to a charity locally to offset the impact of the event. And refill stations.
Okay. So moving away from toilets, water. It's funny how they kind of went together.
Maybe a little bit more, like someone said something about interaction, you know, like we're in a world where everything is experience now. So something where you could have if there were AV companies, why not sort of get them to team up against each other and go, listen, I'm going to build the most incredible experience against that one. And I know that sounds crazy, but, you know, we are trying to do that more and more, and certainly the commercial side of what we're doing now is all about building these crazy immersive experiences. So it'd be quite cool having something like that, you know. Even if it was an area like for meditation or relaxation where you could just go and no salespeople came up to you for about 5 minutes at least. I would, but there we go.
Right, moving on to... So that's the issue. We've got a whole load of ideas that we want to build in. I mean, we know all about the infrastructure, we know about everything else, but we've got some serious ideas that we want to build in. So now we're going to plan a timeline of each one of you guys that when you come in. So when you come into the building, because we're doing the show here, we're not responsible for outside, you're coming into the foyer with the lifts at the end and so forth. What should that be like? What should the welcome experience be like? So give me a clue. Should it be interesting? Should it be... It should be what? Right, so we need it to be functional, form and function, remember that? So there has to be a fast track. There's all the people who have come from the airport on the bus. They were supposed to be here at 10 o'clock. The buses gets here at 10:30. They're supposed to be on their stands. They have to be able to fast track and get in, right? but there needs to be excitement for people that are not doing that, okay? So we're going to take that. Anything else in that area? Okay, so let's look at, so the first thing is, right, plan view. You've got the 2 escalators that you're coming to. There needs to be a fast track and an exciting track, right? So you've got the choice when you turn up there. You've got 2 channels. You can go straight in because you're late and you're going to lose your job if you don't get on that stand because you had too much to drink the night before, or you can make an experience of it. And it's the first thing. Remember, so there has to be one new thing, going back to our rules, one new thing in the foyer area. So outside, there is a little pool of water, yeah? Let's put water in there. It's fitting with what's happening outside. So what if we, okay, we're going to build a tunnel. And our tunnel is bear with, we're making this up as we go along. Right, this is what I think. You're coming in there, you've got the fast track, you can go straight up the escalators. If you want to, you can go for the special sensory IBTM tunnel. Now that tunnel is, anyone ever see Random International's Rain Room? Anyone ever go to any of the right? Random International, Anglo-Dutch architects, and they built these sensor floors, and then there's rain, and the room is basically, that tunnel will be a block of rain. But when a person goes in there, you get a dry cloud over you, but you have to move quite slowly. I tried to break it, I got soaked. But so we will have a tunnel in there, and that tunnel, which you can, if you want to walk to, you can go down there. All the people who are rushing by and going by there, what they're seeing is other delegates walking through the tunnel, but they almost like moving statues because they'll be going quite slowly, gingerly, wondering if they're going to get soaked. And only people who are interested and curious will do that. That means that everyone who gets their badge tapped before they go in there, we know they're more curious than anybody else. So they're our mavens and our influencers for IBTM next year. We're already segregating the audience and collecting data on this. We'll then put a little pool of water in front of that. So the pool of water will separate the rain room or the rain corridor, which is dripping in and filling the pool of water, and then you've got the fast track coming out of there. From there, you go up the escalators, correct? Then what happens next? What happens in the corridor beyond the escalators? Anyone got an idea for that? Virtual reality. Takes too long, that'll stop people. It has to be, people are in motion. What can you do when people are in motion? We're thinking about yourselves. You have to get through there. You are getting through there. But how? And the function of the corridor is to move through the corridor at a given pace. So you're moving at 2.4 kilometers. You're walking at so many steps. That's how it is. But how can we add value to that walk so that you're impressed and connected with our wonderful new show? That's what we want. Mr. James. Okay, a lighting effect with motion sensors. Are we voting for that? Do we like that? That's okay. Sorry? Music. Right, whoa, go one step back. Music. What music do we have by our rain corridor? When you come into that foyer, you're coming out of a disorganized noise that you can't control any of that because you're outside in a public space. As soon as you've come through the door, we can control that. Let's have music there. So we will have a curated list of music for our foyer area that has been picked to go with this show to represent you guys. Then when you move up the stairs, I'm liking that, up the stairs, and we're looking at now at James's... So we've got a corridor. Lighting, motion sensors, right? There's quite a lot of glass through there, so we're fighting with God. Is light the right way to do it? Yeah, lasers work in, okay, right, so we can have lasers through here, okay, fine, I'm happy with that. So we're going to have a laser corridor. So what we'll do is, because we're not stopping people and we don't want to frighten them, we're going to put the lasers overhead. So as you walk underneath where the lasers come on. And the busier it gets, the crazier the lasers go. So the lasers will then create a digital print, which will tell us, if we're measuring how often they flicked on, it will tell us when the maximum traffic was. So we'll be able to plan the show next year and know that it was particularly busy at 7 minutes past 9 or 6 minutes past 8 or whatever it be. So the lasers are not only attractive, they're also measuring how quickly people are coming through. Let me add one thing to that. Can we, since we've got the floor and we can't take any space up, on the floor, can we do this? Can we have pillars which you can see are end on, and all they are they're just little blocks. But let's fill them with pampas grass, and we'll have fans down there. And the music's still playing, so we've moved from the music from the lobby area. That will have moved on to a slightly different soundtrack here, which will be a bit more intense, maybe electronic or something like that. And that's going to be a bit more intense, and it will be more or less moving at the beats per minute to match the footsteps, so that we end up with the footsteps being in harmony with the music. And then we'll have fans, and the fans are inside the blocks with the pampas grass so that the grass is moving. And let's add one extra thing. Rob was talking earlier on about smells. Let's put a scent in there. Let's design a scent for IBTM, and that scent, a dilution of that scent, can be in the grass. So as you're walking through, not only is the grass moving and you can touch it as you move through, but you're also walking through a scent. So you're being connected to your show. Are we liking that? That's generally approved? Okay, fine. Young man at the front. That's infrastructure. We've decided we're doing it. But I don't want the water stations to be stopped, and the corridor where you're moving people through, there's no value of you guys have a limited value in the corridors. Your value is here on the show floor for the people who have paid for the space, so the water will be down here. When are we going to get the bottle? Is that what you're saying? Are we all agreed that we should collect the bottles somewhere during that route? Do we agree with that, or do we think we should collect the bottles down the show floor? Who says in the corridor and who says on the show floor? We have the answer, both. Okay, so we're going with that. What should a bottle collection point look like? Then you're adding a process. We all know that touch takes over a second. We're adding a process. What's a quicker version of that? Do we have people running alongside you handing the bottles out? Do we have a bottle sculpture that you go and collect it from? Okay, so all of the above, right? I hope we're not spending the budget before we get on the floor. Yeah. Okay. Right, so we've got, that's another thing that we've done then. So we're adding that, and also, okay, I'll give you that, because we're also adding water from the from downstairs into the process further on. So okay, we like that. That's good. Then we come into the show floor. What should the show floor look like? Apart from accepted, we've got the boudoir already. We've got the water stations all the way around, and we've enlarged the show floor, so we've got more technical suppliers who are adding stuff to us. What should the show floor look like?
I was thinking maybe it should be a bit more circular. So you've got like a networking area right in the middle where everybody conjugate, like they've got charging area and, sort of a bit more, a bit more of a centerpiece to the show.
A centerpiece hub. We should add a theme, certainly. Yeah, please.
A map of the world like the Palm is in Dubai, but you do it as a map of the world because everything here is all about different destinations around the world.
Do we like that? Okay, so we've got a map of the world, and what did you say? A centerpiece. Yeah, we definitely have a centerpiece. And okay, right.
Jesus, sorry guys.
So let's go back to our floor plan. We did say that we were allowed to keep the we're allowed to keep the hotel map info thing because we like that. But let's do some more of those. Let's have that happening somewhere else. We've got our centerpiece. Now, should our centerpiece be stands, or should it be these knowledge theatres? Shouldn't knowledge be at the centre of the earth? So we're going to put our knowledge right in the middle of the show. So when you come in, you're coming into Andy's Piazza. Andy's Piazza. So we're coming into this. We've got a piazza that comes from we're putting knowledge at the centre of the show, and then round the outside of the centre of the show, we're going to put in extra theatres, like the Accelerate one. Anyone been on the Accelerate one? It's pretty good. And I like the tidal thing of pitch, then a session, then a pitch and a session. So we want more of that. So we can make that more expansive. We should make that much funkier, yeah? So that can be like a forum. It can be maybe stacked, keeping with the round. We can have a couple of satellite theatres. So in our however that be, our centre area, and we've got satellite theatres around them, which could be tiered. I mean, ideally they'll be on rotating turntables, and so they spin round with the next one that's coming up, but that's getting carried away. So we definitely like the idea of that. What should the show floor look like? So we've got a piazza coming out of our central area. So going back to here, we're allowed to have a piazza running all the way down here. We can interrupt the piazza with our hotel map places because they interrupt the flow and they increase the dwell time in each of the sections, which will make the various exhibitors happy. We're going to organize the floor plan based on David's world map. And so we're getting away with coloured carpet. Rubbish. We don't need any of that stuff. What we've got is everyone knows the order, the east, west, north, south of the world, and that's how it's going to be. So we're uncluttering the visual aspect because it's all one thing. Also, we're making our new show isn't about different sections and segmenting. Our new show is a platform for this industry that everything can grow from. So our idea platform, our theme, is our world, because that makes sense, and that's exactly what it is. But we're going to organize it like the world, because it's a reflection of what's happening outside. So everything that happens in the world can happen here. That's perfectly okay. Then we have to still have exhibition stands, sorry. But so far, we've got our hub in the middle, we've got our piazza. So that's our main drive all the way through there. We've got our theatres on either side there, visualizing this now. We need to have a new way of doing exhibition stands. And who thinks the exhibition stands are too expensive? Are we agreed on that? Right, so we want a cheaper way of doing exhibition stands. Do we want the venue to do more, or the venue and the organizer do more for the exhibitors, and so they have to do less themselves? We agreed on that? Right, and is it easy to find your way around there? Can we improve the visual clutter? Right, so directional signage, unclutter, make it simpler. Right, let's do this. The show floor, what we're going to do, this is up in the sky. We're going to put rigs all the way down. Those rigs are going to have all their lights in them already. And so we're creating light corridors. So inside elevation, what you've really got is you've got rigs up there with all your lighting on it, and you've got the floor down here. That's effectively what you've got. And then what we'll do is every single stand space is underneath that lit area, so that you've got an equidistant lighting, you've got good lighting absolutely everywhere. And then they build the stands underneath them, but they don't have to build them really, really high. They need benches, and they need seats, and they need quality furniture, and they want really good food and stuff like that. That's what they actually need. So all of those spaces down there will be beautifully lit, going back to the lasers and so forth that we've had earlier on there. And all the lighting will be equidistant. And then what we'll do is we're going to hang your signage. So everyone gets to hang lit signs. So we've just created a department store. We've got a platform, it's a department store, it's got those clear lines through it. It's much easier to find your way around. Department store is upmarket. It's better than an exhibition hall. So we've got something which has got an actual better look and feel to it, but there's less clutter. It's easier to find your way around. So I'm actually quite liking that idea. So every stand space gets the light, they get their lit signs, they get their basic lighting and so forth. Obviously you can pay for more and so forth. And depending on how much they pay is the height of their sign. So people who pay a little bit less, their sign is lower. People who pay more, their sign is higher. And that means that when you look down the corridor, they'll all be unlined. You'll be able to read them all. Otherwise, they'll all be lined, and it gets very difficult to read the perspective on them. So we've just created a department store. There was talk about the food queues, right? So on our app or whatever it is, we're going to have picnic areas around the show floor. We're going to create picnic lounges. And the food concessions, so what we can do is we can have, we're going to have coffee made just for this show. It'll be exclusive. It'll be a particular blend, which we might look at who we are and say we're going to have a greener coffee where the crack comes a little bit later, and we're going to make coffee that you can only get at this show. We're going to organise our menu so that we've got a menu that you only have at this show. And that menu can be ordered in like little bento boxes, and it can be sent to any of the picnic areas. So that when the lunchtime comes along, if you want to pre-arrange your meeting, you can have, we'll call it Deliver You. We can have your lunch delivered to any of the picnic areas, and you just simply go and collect it. And then we'll take James's thing, where all of the empties, when you finished your food, you can go to a coffee bar in the picnic area, and you can pay for a coffee with your packaging. So we'll have our water stations, we'll have food, we'll have everything that works there. We'll be cutting down the queues, won't we? Because there'll be more people in the picnic areas and organised, so we don't get those great big hosted buyer queues, and we don't get access. If you want to get rid of a queue, you have to divert people to different places. So let me just check the times for us for the moment. So are we reasonably agreed on that? Can I ask one further thing? We had the scent in the corridors coming in, and the pampas grass and the fans and whatever and wherefore. Can we bring, going to Rob's from the talk before, his sensory thing, can we bring a bit more of that in there? Anyone got any idea? What do you want your show to smell like? What was that? Okay. What do you think it should smell like? You're designing it. It's up to you. Right. Yeah. But then when you get noise, when you get smell pollution, what should this your show, what should it smell like? And then how do we deliver that smell, that scent? You know, we've got a lot of trappings of luxury here. You know, it's really easy to order food. You've got plenty of bathrooms. We've got responsible water and so forth. We've got a lot of the trappings of luxury hotels here, which is kind of coming back to we've got an awful lot out there. What else can we learn from them? Why don't we have a cologne made for this show, and we put it on all the staff? A unisex cologne. And so every time you go and ask somebody, if I go over to the speaker's desk and I talk to Erica and I ask her something, when I lean across, I'm going to get this olfactory experience. And if I speak to somebody on the Accelerate Theatre, I'm going to get the same thing. And we all know that memory and scent, memory and smell are really closely linked. You know, we can remember 10,000 different scents, and we've got a 65% retention of those scents a year later. And stuff that we've seen, we lose that in 3 months. We've lost 60% we only remember 40% of what we see 3 months later on. But scents, you can remember scents from when you were a kid, or something that your mother used to make, or somewhere that you've been on holiday. So it's really important, because what we're doing is we're branding the air. Do we like that roughly? That's okay? Okay, we're going with the scent thing as well. We're running quite low on time now, so we've kind of got a floor plan. You've almost redesigned this show in about 40 minutes. Think what we could do if they'd given us 2 hours. Think how good that would be. So, has anyone been using Slido through this? Or has anyone got any questions or comments? Anything that you want to add or reflection? Anything that you think we could have done differently? Mr. James, where's our microphone? Gentleman in the second row there.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I like the world map idea, but I don't know how practical that is, because what happens if you've only got 5 exhibitors from Africa and it's a massive continent? Then you've got, all of a sudden, you've got like 5 small booths on a big area.
You're asking me. You lot did it. It's his problem.
Oh, no, it's his, yeah, it's him. It's him.
I'm not taking responsibility for this. You did it.
So I don't know if the world thinks a great idea. I'm just putting on my analysis hat. Or maybe that's a good target for the sales
we
force.
can actually, it's perfectly all right to do that, because first and foremost, it does show where there are weaknesses. Secondly, we're not going to lay it out like a map. We're going to use the compass, the north, south, east, west, and it'll be zonal, so that you know which quarter to go to and so forth. It's not being physically, slavishly followed, where we'll have the largest continent with the fewest exhibitors on it. That's not going to happen. They're not going to be basked in space, and everyone in Europe is like that. So we can get round all of those sort of things. But what we have is, it's an idea platform, and it's an idea platform that we all accepted to use, and so it's one that we're going to implement. And when we get to the delivery, that's what we have to do for it. Any other reflections or comments on this? I mean, is this process useful to you? Do we like it? Would you do this again? Yes. Okay, so speak to them out there and say, this is a really good way of doing things. We can deconstruct as much as we can possibly can, because you get a good result. Because what you were talking about here was, the idea was to actually show the process. Because if you're going to have a good idea, no one actually cares where the idea comes from. So a flat hierarchy like this is incredibly powerful. And then the other thing is, if you're right, I'm right. And if you're wrong, well, it wasn't me anyway. Thank you very much. Right, let's have a look. Smaller targeted versus large-scale events. What's the future? Well, large-scale events, in principle, I can tell you this for a fact. I mean, the large events, the real key large events are actually getting larger, and everything else is actually getting smaller. So targeted small events or niche events, there's going to be a lot more of those. And they are going to be far more plentiful, and in many ways they're more useful, because these events are a time machine, and the people whose time you are machining are the audiences. So smaller target ones, absolutely, they can always bundle together and grow into something bigger, but they are the future. How can you make an impactful thing as event planners could do to reduce the environment footprint of our events? Well, we did that when we were actually going through this. We talked about water, we talked about so forth. We would extend that ethos, that philosophy, to all the materials that we use. There's no reason why our stages could not be made out of plastics that have been recovered from the sea. You can have them made into boards, you put them through an MDF press, and you can polish them. You can even underlight them. I've done it. You can go to people like Parsify, and they're very, very good, and they will give you local suppliers. Literally, the boards are fairly rough, but if you give them to a board manufacturer and have them put in an MDF press, it burns them beautifully. You don't know what you're going to get, but you're upcycling. That's good. How can you make an event more technologically advanced without alienating the older attendees? Well, you can't. You have to do both. In the same way as we started off with the your entrance area, where you had 2 channels, right? There has to be an opportunity to engage on your terms. You're the audience. What you actually have to do is you have to opt in however you wish to opt in and go as deep as you can, which is why we want more technology out there. We want a simpler, more uncluttered layout. We want simpler, more uncluttered timelines. We want better music and acoustic performance. And then we want the ability to be able to use technology to pimp our senses and go deeper and deeper and deeper when we choose to do so. And if people don't choose to do that, they've still got the face-to-face experience. That's up to them. Thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate your time and your hard work. We have no plastic giveaways here. We don't even have plastic bottles. Totally agree. Thank you again.